So to start with, first of all, what exactly the repository is all about. So in this particular session, I'll be going through practically how the repository looks like. So for that, let's look at the options you have before even. So from the organization perspective, this is how the look or the your own repository will look like once you create the GitHub account. How to create the GitHub account? So how to create a GitHub account? Just go to the github.com. Okay, so if you have account, I think it will ask you to create. I think let me show in the private window. Okay, just sign up for GitHub with your email address, and this is how you get started with your GitHub account. That is the first thing. Second thing is how do we start with? Okay, so if you are completely new to the GitHub, what are the ways? So first is your GitHub account. So just create the GitHub account. It will just bare minimum ask your email address and you get started with that. Second thing is I'm completely new. I don't know what to be done with that repository. So let's go and create one new repository for us. So while you create your account, you will get a GitHub handle. This is called GitHub handle. In my case, it is Jethani Vijay. So in your case, it will be your name with which you are creating that account. Okay, it will ask you for that username. So suppose the repository I want to create is a test Vijay. It will give you whether that is available, or let's put for today's class, right? So GitHub repo and actions. Is it available? Yes, that's available. If you want to give some description on top of that, you can give, say, this is a repository for code and workflows. Okay, and this you have to choose based on how you want to collaborate on this. Okay, so this can be public or private depending upon how you want. If it is private, then it will be only within you whom you want to invite on that, only they can see that. Okay, and if it is public, then anyone on internet can see your repository. So this is how you will go and create your repository. The bare minimum thing ideally you can create directly, but I would say just add a readme file by default, so that at least you have something, some one single file where from there on you can work on uploading other files or respective folders. Okay, other thing is if you want to ignore any particular file, I think this will come at the later point, but at this point of time I would say as you're starting fresh, don't mess up with that as of now. I think you will learn slowly how you actually can like ignore not to track any of these files from that list. Okay, other thing is license. So from the licensing per se, you can choose from the different license. They on getting these open source license related, what these licenses do, I think there is an open source forum for that. You can go and check what exactly and what under circumstances you can share those particular contents over public. Okay, so by default, if you are not sure, just choose MIT license or an, okay, for going with the basic repository creation. And by default, your branch where our base first code will land, or first the repository which will be created will have this one particular single branch. Okay, so let's create that. So this is the bare minimum you have to require to create the repository. Now what else we can do here? Few things. If you have joining me from the concepts class, I think you know that we have covered some of the flows, forking or cloning. What are the difference between them? Say suppose I just want to have a copy of that. So that is as simple as cloning. So come on to the code tab. Okay, and if you see HTTPS URL for the clone, you just have to copy this. Okay, so you can open these with your GitHub desktop or with your Visual Studio, which is your ID, or you can download this code directly. Okay, this is the one way to interact with the your repository. Now what if I have seen some repository on net and I just want to clone it in my own organization or the GitHub handle. Okay, so this is your GitHub handle, or if you are running an enterprise, then it will be an enterprise handle for that GitHub along with your name in. So what I can do here is the way you created new repository, just go to the plus sign at right, top right. Okay, and just in spite of new repository, just click on import repository. So here, whatever the URL we have copied, you have to paste that here. And as now this is a public URL from which you are cloning. Now this is you. So you can name exactly the same, or you can name with your credentials, say, then anything basically which is allowed, and that name is not taken in your organization or GitHub handle. Okay, so you can just copy that and append that, and that will be, that's it, that will be your repository, which is clone of any public repository which you have just visited, or if you want to clone in your own GitHub handle. Okay, as simple as that. So you can just click on begin import and that will be available to you. So this will go and check the version control system, which is a Git, and this particular repository will be created for you exactly the same. So I will just open a new tab so that you can look in exactly the same what we have seen in our previous repository from where we have cloned that, right? So coming back, this is how you actually work around, first of all, creating the new repository and importing that repository. Now, new organization, I will just wait for a while until you get some hold of what exactly you are doing with new repository and importing and working around with that. Now, what are the other steps which you will do? First thing is you will obviously add few files, right? So let me create some test file, or say the markdown file saying hello, welcome to class. Okay, so as simple as that. So you can just go and preview that and commit that. Just see how you're committing that. As you are the master, or I would say the admin on that particular branch, there won't be any challenge for you unless and until you're protecting that branch. Okay, the best way to do that is if you are a coder, you obviously will have a new branch. Okay, and then you will commit to your own branch. Okay, and then raise a pull request. So I will just explain one by one. So let us first of all commit this new file. Okay, so now we have the one file which is we have just committed that. So that means what we did was we just added one particular file using add file. This is the one way of doing. But what about if I have the n number of files? So in that case, you can choose a drag and drop method, choose your files from your system. Okay, and then upload in your repository. That is a way for you to add files. Okay, now going back, the few things which you will require here is, say suppose you are, as I already said, if you are starting fresh and you are a developer working on where the code already exists. So in that case, probably the organizer or the project admin will give you the new branch, which will be like your own branch to collaborate and communicate. Okay, so in that case, what they will do is, say suppose I'm just creating one branch which is clone of this. Okay, just so what I did was just type the branch. So this is how I create a branch from the source branch, which was master. Okay, so now if you see, I have exactly the same content to start with. That means I have a complete copy, the way we have seen the Git flow, right? You have the complete copy of your code with you before you proceed. Now if you are collaborating with features, or you are doing any kind of work, so every code on which you are working, that will be a copy plus any particular changes you are doing, that will be alone to you unless and until you want to merge that to a master branch. Okay, so suppose now I want to have a add different file, but now this will be on my branch, right? So say suppose my branch file. Again, this is a new feature branch for me. You can just preview that. And so here I'm just following the basic terminology of MD is nothing but the markdown language. Okay, so I have just committed this, but if you see, as I committed this, this is not in my master. That means I'm sure now whatever I'm working through is here. So suppose if really I want to do the commit towards master, what should I do? In that case, it's already giving you an option to compare and pull request. Now pull request is way for us to review this particular change or one particular file being added or any particular changes being done on my branch to promote that to the production, or in other words you can say now it is going through review. So I would say yes, review my file. Okay, and then I would say create pull request. So what that will do is that will go and have first of all check of what exactly my branch.md file which was created, what exactly this is the one particular content which we had in that particular file. So here it gives you an option to actually review that code. Okay, so again here if you see the reviewers approvals and everything, whatever here there are more options for you to do the comment, approve that and request specific changes what you want in as a part of this review process. Okay, so going back, if you see now, as this is one, I am the whole and soul and there is no and I have a complete access, that is the reason I am able to merge this particular branch, okay, of this code without any particular further approvals. But if you don't have access, then it will obviously go through a review process and you will add an approver or assignee. Okay, so assignee in that case will be the project administrators who will review that and then accordingly approve that for your code to be merged to the production. Okay, so once I click on the yes, that is being merged. Now if I go back to that particular repository, I see my branch.md present here, right? So this is how you work around with the branches, and then from there onwards, basically you are sure what is the review process and then how you have to go through the Git flow as a workflow terminology which we have been talking through, right? And that how exactly the flow will be for the production for different environments. So this you can consider for any particular environments. It can be your test environment, it can be pre-production environment, it can be production environment. Okay, so if you see now that particular pull request is also closed. Now one more thing, say suppose I'm having some issues. Okay, like I being coder, I just want some help or others to collaborate on that. So you can just click on new issue saying that I don't find dependencies or dependency versions relevant to code. You can add some more behind that for specific versions or you can say specific files. So this is how I would just go and submit the new issue. Okay, so depending upon how I collaborating with them, so my team can come here, I can assign this who is a relevant owner or group, that particular group will owner of that, and they can actually come here and actually provide me if that is right, or if there is any solution around that, they can come and then finally close the issue. Okay, so here I can say okay, found dependencies, provided you details on that particular dependencies. Okay, and you can finally your whoever is working on that, but you can actually close and that particular issue. Okay, So the collaboration tools for us is first of all our the base layer, which is our repository, and then if we are stuck with something, then obviously go ahead and raise an issue. If you are for you to collaborate with any particular third party, it may be if it is a public repository, you can go around a complete internet or globe to whoever can help you on that particular code issue. If it is an open source, or if it is a one or your team or any particular first party product team, you can go and reach out to them if they are having any particular support for that. Similarly, within our team, we want a structure to be placed for the project admins and whoever is working under us as a collaborator. So in these cases, this is how we collaborate and get this complete repository creation and how we will work across the collaboration way is sort out, right? So this is how we, and other thing, obviously, you can go and chat and do all those things as well. Okay, so these are the few things which I want to show you for you to get started on the code per se. Now the important thing for us is, okay, this is okay, I can now do upload of file and upload of do the issues, but what if I want to go and create more than this, like easily, like I can have a complete folder structure, I can have a complete move of files and folders around and what I want to contribute on a specific branch. So for that, I have something called GitHub Desktop. So this is the tool which is the way you work on your command line. This gives you an option of working through. Now here, what I want to do here is add a or clone repository locally. Okay, so what I want to do here is clone repository locally from a URL. That means whatever I want to have, let me go and pull this particular URL again. Okay, so with the help of this tool, I will just put that URL link, and if that is around, if that folder is available on your local path, now this is my own machine where this will get cloned. That means what I want to have is the local copy of that particular. So I can just click on clone. Okay, so if you go and now check your own particular explorer, now click on here, show an explorer. You will see exactly the same files available on locally on your machine now. First of all, it try to initialize that Git version on our machine, and then it put my branch.md readme. Now, what is the use of this? Someone will say, okay, I'm getting, why should I use this? Important thing is when you work on a particular folder structure, if you want a complete, say suppose I will just give you simple thing, my folder 1. Okay, then I am having the some code, some text file or code. So while you can move here, it looks simple. If I have a hierarchy of that particular folder structure, now this solves the problem for me on my machine. Okay, first of all, it detected what the change was. I created my folder. Now I would say, okay, go and update, or you can say code update if that was, and commit to the master. Okay, now this way it is giving me a way to push something which is on my machine on our GitHub handle or that repository for say. Okay, now if I go and check that, you will see and refresh that, I have the folder structure here. Okay, so the other thing which I want to show you on was on the actions or pipelines. Okay, so what should do, how do we start with creating that particular workflow and how that will look like? So first of all, let me show you some repository which I already have as a code base. Okay, so this is the repository I have for our workflow, going around that workflow and how you can actually club the different jobs and actually have the build and the test from that particular jobs. Okay, but how exactly I should know, like what are the ways to create workflow? So for that, I have this workflow syntax. Now let's start with one by one. Okay, So first thing is the workflow itself, like what should I name that workflow, right? So there is something called name, and you can, I will also paste this on the chat for you to go through that particular link. Okay, so this is the workflow syntax link. Okay, so this will be kind of I'm trying to create a workflow, and I will be running some of the actions or the jobs around that. What should I name? So you can write the name and the purpose for that, and on what particular triggers this should run. Okay, now this should run on whether I'm committing the file or when I'm creating the pull request. I think you have seen while I trying to review the code, it is raising the pull request, right? With the help of the pull request, I'm actually trying to get review what file got changed and who the assignee will be. So those all things I can take care here. Okay, like on basis of on, that means push or pull request, these are triggers for me. Okay, so these are triggers for me. How would I run this workflow? Okay, now there's still more to that, uh, but ideally I would be doing a number of changes, so it should not run on any particular change. I should be very specific on what exactly branch, against which branch it should run, and what exactly the commit that should look like. So if we want to have that kind of conditional statement, so in that case you will have on push specific branches, on pull request again specific branches, and if you are having a particular release version, so you can also have that as part of for that particular release being created. Okay, so that's okay, but still I don't have much control on which particular file or folder structure for which this workflow should run. Okay, so on that, what I want to have is a more control on. So let me show you something on the specific to the folder structure. Now on push, that means anything got committed on specific branch. Okay, so this is this you have to follow. Okay, branches release anything, that means anything whatever is published on this branch, the push should happen and that workflow should run, but not within. Okay, within something starts with alpha, that this is not. So this exclamation says not, that means everything, first of all we are saying everything yes to the release whatever gets changed, then we are very specific on, but it should not be something to start with alpha hyphen alpha. Okay, so there will be something and then followed by hyphen alpha, it should not get triggered on this. So we are very specific on saying, so we call this as a positive and negative patterns. So if we mention something directly with the anything what changes and then we say not, then that means that is a negative pattern for that. Now many a case we also keeps our documentation within our repositories. So we are saying run the workflow. Okay, on, but I have to make sure irrespective of wherever you are, but you have to ignore one path which is nothing but the docs. Okay, that means a document folder, because that is not a code, so I keep on editing that. So just ignore that particular workflow. Okay, the other way to look at is something to say them, like only if my specific file gets changed. Here I'm saying any specific JavaScript file, if that gets changed anywhere. Okay, that means throughout the repository, this is for two asterisks for that. Okay, anywhere so go and commit that particular once that is committed, run that workflow. Okay, so this is how you can put the paths around your push. Okay, so basically your project and this is not okay, should ignore the docs. There are different ways to write that. Either I should say just ignore and rest all allowed, or I would specifically just mention specific file. So it is purely in our hand how we want to control that. Okay, Now there are few things. Say suppose I don't want to run on a specific file changes. I want this is something to be done on my schedule maintenance or something of that sort. So for that, what I will do is I will run at a specific time, minutes, then hours, then particular day, and then following that there will be the way you have your cron top, right? The that particular month and or the day of that particular month and those kind of things. Okay, so this follows exactly the same the cron tab or scheduling terminology which we have been using before with the Unix and Linux system. So exactly the same thing. Okay, so this is how also while you run this you can also specify these specific scopes. Okay, but this is purely to the what kind of the job that is being run. Now here it is in actions. Okay, so read and write and none, these are something available scopes and access values. Now if you read out this is clearly saying you can modify the default permissions granted to the GitHub token. GitHub token nothing but by default when you run under the GitHub as a runner. Okay, so you're being assigned some permissions to run that. Okay, but if you want to override that, then in that case you can apply these permissions on top of that. So this is what it meant for. By default you can give read and then write to none. That means no one can change that particular workflow. However, in your own case, if you are working on your branch, you obviously need a permissions on that. Now this was something to do with how you create a workflow, on what basis the workflow should run. It should run on file changes or it should run on schedule. What about specific to variables? Okay, so in that case environment is a term or I would say a map of the environment variables under which you will define specific variables. So here server production, then environment you can also put. Similarly, you can also put a website name, a database name, and something to go around that. Okay, and if you want to keep that as a constant element or parameters for that particular workflow, then you can also mention under defaults. Okay, so that will be something similar to this. On specific you want to shell to be and working directly to be named by so and so. So that is how you create these particular workflows. Now as this is very big file, I won't be able to do end to end, but at least I would show you how the structure will look like. Say suppose I would show you the job pattern. So this is how your first job and the steps under which. Now any steps under is actually an action. So this is I would say a combined actions under one particular job, which is job one. Again you have something on the job two. So this is how we will create that particular environment, and finally we will come at something similar to this. We have given the name and then running on a specific push to that any branch. Here we have not mentioned anything, but this job should run on which specific hoster. Obviously I would need some machine, which is a GitHub machine. So this will run on Ubuntu, and the steps for me is just to print my name and echo that on the screen. So this is how this simple workflow syntax look like. Let's come back to what I have in my own repository is some code which is a JavaScript related code or Node.js related code. I have kept some workflows. Okay, so my first workflow will I have just named them as a first workflow. It should run on branch master. Okay, so this is the master branch. Okay, and many times you will also see the main. Okay, main branch here. So there is no difference. Ideally what happens is if you are in enterprise or if you are an organization, by default the organization default will be your main as a branch. So any particular repository will be created with that. Or if you see any of the old or any of the lab.github.com repositories, you will see main as a branch created by default. That is how the enterprise has been naming it internally. Okay, so don't worry on that. Main and master are one and the same thing. Only thing is if you face any such challenges, just go to that particular branches and see what exactly the naming convention you want to have to that. Okay, so you can rename from main to master, master to name. You can do that right away. So don't worry on those things. Okay, coming back to the our flow. So first workflow. Okay, so it should run. I'm being very specific that there should not be any changes around on the repository. That means it is not that any file I commit, the workflow should run irrespective of whether that was required or not. Okay, so with that, I'm being very specific, saying that this should go on master, and my workflow file where I should do the change is my first workflow.md. And what I want to have within that workflow is the job, okay, which will actually build that code for me on specific metrics. When I say metrics, is kind of array. I want to build this 12.x, 14.x, and 16.x from that particular the code which I have given. Okay, and then following that, I think I have just written the steps what I'm trying to run on that Node.js, following that node specific metrics. Okay, I just want to have the CI for that and build run create the build out of it and run some test. So everything as required for this particular workflow I have kept in this particular source file. Similarly, the test use cases I've kept in under the test. Okay, so this is the sample repository I have. If you have seen the first run, what I required was just the change to this my first workflow.md. Let's see and do that change. So first workflow.md. Okay, so let me running this workflow from class session. Okay, so any change I think here because at this point of time for us it is to know whether this particular workflow is running or not. On, if you see, this is now gone to the Ember, which is like it will go for the metrics of 12.x, 4.x, and 16.x. Let's see what is within those particular jobs. Now, one thing to note here is all started at same time because I have not set any dependencies one over the other. That means all three are independent and can run together in parallel. Okay, so they will go and actually build that. Okay, and then uh, create that config. Okay, so create that config and run the test. Now tests are nothing but some test files, which is nothing but the jest I have just kept as a test code for that. I will show you those code as well. So this is just the simple workflow to show you some code I have from the source and some test use cases to check. So around that, and this particular ran on three versions: 12.x, 14.x, and 16.x. So this is how you have seen one particular workflow running on a specific condition, which was to change on specific branch, that is master, and the first workflow for MD, which is under specific path. So remember, this is very specific. If you don't keep your workflow files, that is YAML files, under .github workflow, they will not run. That is must for us to keep that. So again, going to the first workflow master, and this is what I changed. And I only had one job, which was a club of both build and test. Okay, in your case, it can be any of your .NET Core or any of the other open source. So just play around with the repositories to check around how you can. The only thing you need is, as I said, on what particular condition it will run and what are the jobs and steps you want to write around. So let me show you the second workflow, how that is different from our first workflow. This is just a way to show you the different ways to write these workflows. Okay, again the condition remains same. I am just writing it from master, but here I just want to introduce something on the operating system as well. I am giving apart from just giving 12.x and 14.x, I am also giving to run it on Ubuntu and the Windows 2016. Okay, so this particular code still remains same. That means install, test, and something I'm setting on the Node.js, that remains still the same. Now the change is I just now want it to also the run the test against Ubuntu as well as Windows both. Let's try to trigger by second workflow.md. Let me do that. Again, come back to the code and search for that particular file, second workflow.md, and I'm just trying to write it. This is Okay. So I'm just giving some just name to that, because as of now we are not changing something as a code, but just to demonstrate our workflows, I'm just doing this. Okay, now this is how my second workflow now run. And now if you see, now again the same thing. Now the jobs are running parallel, and they are running, and they have to run against two of the, one is an Ubuntu and another is a Windows. So it should run against all four of them. Our whole or I would say from the back end of the code remains the same for them. That means there's no change to the code, but to show you the portability of that, that you the way, if that is a code is an open source and support it on a number of respective runners, I think you can run them. Similar is the case for your self-hosted runners as well. So that is how you can run your code against. Okay, so they should ideally go and run against each of them in parallel, irrespective of that code, and this particular workflow, if you're seeing, is being getting completed. Okay, so again same thing, the code remains same. I have not touched across, the source remains same, and the test cases what I have is to check against the game. Okay, so this, as of now, I'm just keeping it irrelevant for you, because we are just trying to know how the workflow is running. Okay, but I think you can go at the back end and check what exactly the code is all about and what you are trying to run. So the heart of this is a package.json, which gives us what are the dependencies about this code and how you get through that. Okay, so this is how you can. Now let's run the final, where I have did a small change in spite of now running parallel. I'm running them in the sequential, because at times we are working in the production environment where we have dependencies on our first job to complete first, and then our second job should run. So with that, keeping that in mind, I have given the name as build, and then other name as a test, and I have clearly written I need you as a, I need build as a first, like whatever comes out of, I need that. However, while we run on the cloud, we have to make sure whatever the artifacts or whatever the code, or I would say zip files or any particular files being output files being produced, I just want to retain them and upload that uh, for me to be use them in a subsequent job. So that is the reason I'm also running one particular action. Now till the time, what we are trying to do here is we were trying to run some steps which were kind of run or something under the command line, but here I'm already bringing out something which is already created code or already created, so that stays something out of my repository. So I'm trying to use the actions which are ready built actions, and they are here, it is named upload artifact. Okay. And this is running out of the main branch of whoever has created that. Okay, but the name what it should have is a web artifacts, and it should be available at the path of public. That means as wherever I create that repository or from where it should be available at the public, so that when I run the test, I can download that artifacts. Okay, I can download that artifacts and can run the test on top of that. So that is the my whole purpose of doing that. Okay, now we have the two jobs, one is build, another is a test. Both are running against a respective same as I've shown you previously as well. However, I want to make sure now as it is as they want to run in a sequence. So let's try this out, and now I have to commit to final workflow.md. So let me do that. So I have to now do the changed here. Oh, sorry, I took the wrong MD file. So let me try this out here. Running jobs under separate steps or actions, right? So that is how I combine them, right? Separated them out with the respective using upload and download artifacts actions. So this is how you use reusable, or I would say use already available actions. Okay, so with that workflow, again going back to the actions tab, I'm running my final workflow. Now if you see, now both are not running, it is waiting for a pending job. That means, as I've already told, it should run in a sequence. So now it is going through that particular sequence where it is trying to build first. Okay, and it will upload that as an artifact, and then I should carry out with my test cases, which should run on Ubuntu and Windows as a test cases, which I've shown you as a part of that JavaScript file. Okay, now it has completed build. Now this will run in parallel, because now they don't have dependencies whether the window should finish first, because all of them are segregated on the respective OS and the version of Node.js which I'm using. But if you see, again going back to that action, it waited on that particular flow for us for this to complete, and then coming to that particular test. So this is how we can organize our workflow based on the need and dependencies on respective code we are working on. So as this was just a concept session, I could just cover this in interest of time, but I think maybe in our hands-on lab, I would show you the different flavors around open source. Similarly, we will work around with the .NET Core, as well as we will work around Node.js kind of. So you will get a hands-on on exactly how you create those workflows from scratch, and I will help you first of all I doing that and then you following that. Okay, so maybe in our next class on 28th, which is from 1:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., we will work around that particular hands-on labs for complete 4 hours. Okay,